Embrace the dark side and play as Darth Vader in Dungeons & Dragons. I wanted to pay some sort of homage to the amazing James Earl Jones, so I wanted to make one of his most famous characters in D&D. Also because it seemed a little easier than making Mufasa. And if you like any of this content, especially D&D related stuff, make sure to hit the like, comment, subscribe, anything to interact with this video. It helps the algorithm, but really I just want to jump into the video by starting with the species because we are doing the 2024 version of this build. So we're going to go ahead and start with a human. This allows us to gain a heroic inspiration once per long rest, which is kind of handy to have because it means you can re-roll any roll on your D20. You gain one skill, so we're going to grab perception, so you're aware of anybody that's using the force around you. You gain a feat, so we're going to grab tough because you did manage to survive almost being completely torched like a marshmallow on a lava planet. And then we get to dive into the background. Now there's a couple good choices. I considered acolyte or maybe some older version of the backgrounds, but I do like the newer backgrounds that are being proposed. But I'm going to go with sage. The description itself talks about going between various areas and completing odd jobs, which it seems like you're thrown on a lot of random missions when you're growing up as Anakin Skywalker. This gives us skill proficiencies in Arcana and History, and Arcana is going to basically be your understanding of the Force, but it also gives us the Magic Initiate feat. We can choose whatever ability modifier this Magic Initiate feat uses, so we're going to choose Intelligence, and then you get 2 cantrips and 1 first level spell. So we're going to choose Mage Hand to move things around with the Force, and then even though Darth Vader doesn't use any Force lightning in the movies, he does actually have the ability to use it because when he's assembling his lightsaber and handling the Kyber crystal, he does actually use some Force lightning. So I'm going to grab the cantrip, Shocking Grasp, and follow that up with the first level spell, Witch Bolt. Then when it comes to the stats, we're actually going to have a point spread that looks like this, really hammering in on some strength for some fighting and some intelligence because that's what we're going to use for most of our Force powers. Now, as far as a class, we need something that has some pretty good sword fighting for your general lightsaber capabilities. So we're going to choose a fighter. By going with a fighter, we get proficiency in all weapons, all armor, we get saving throws in strength and constitution, and we get to choose 2 skills. So we're going to use insight and intimidation. Then right at first level, we get to choose a fighting style. So we're going to choose dueling. This gives us a +2 bonus to any attacks that we do with a one-handed weapon, as long as we don't also have a weapon in our offhand. Also at first level, we get Second Wind, and in 2024, this got a bit of a tweak. So as a bonus action, you can still regain some hit points equal to 1d10 plus your fighter level, but you get 2 uses of this right away, and you can regain 1 use when you finish a short rest, while also regaining all uses when you finish a long rest. And as you level up in fighter, you get more and more uses. Then the last feature you get at first level of the 2024 version of fighter is a weapon mastery, and we're going to be focusing just on a lightsaber, but we're going to be substituting that for a longsword for now. Longsword gets the weapon mastery feature Sap. So if you hit somebody with an attack from this, they have disadvantage on their next weapon attack. Then at second level of fighter, you get Action Surge, so you can actually take 2 actions in a single turn once per short or long rest. You get 2 uses of this at 17th level, but they did clarify that in the 2024 version, you can't use a magic action as part of this Action Surge. Also at second level of fighter, you get Tactical Mind, which you may not have used when you didn't have the high ground, but you'll make sure to use it in the future. So you can take one of your uses of Second Wind, and then you can apply it to a failed ability check, adding 1d10 to the roll. Then at third level of fighter, you get a fighter subclass. And we actually have a few choices considering we want to have Force powers. You could go with Eldritch Knight, which is not a bad choice. You can then pick up things like Magic Weapon to really turn your sword into a bit more of a lightsaber and get a few other spells here and there. But most of the spells we don't really care about. The Force powers that Vader uses is pretty straightforward and overly simplified. So instead, we're going to use the 2024 version of Psi Warrior. This is pretty much straight up a Jedi or Sith Lord. You get psionic energy dice, which you can spend on special abilities. The number of dice you get levels up along with you as a fighter, and the size of those dice increases as well. Right at third level, you can use your psionic power for one of 3 different abilities. First is Protective Field. So when you or somebody within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to roll a psionic energy dice, reducing the damage by an amount equal to whatever you rolled plus your intelligence modifier, which is why we put so many points into intelligence. This essentially allows you to create a force shield to save yourself or an ally. The other thing you can spend your psionic energy dice on at this point is psionic strike. So you can actually hit somebody extra hard just focusing on the force within you. So immediately after you hit a target within 30 feet of you, you can deal some extra damage to it, equal to your psionic energy dice plus your intelligence modifier. And that damage just so happens to be force damage, which is just kind of ironic. Then the third ability is telekinetic movement. So you can move an object or a creature with your mind. This becomes a magic action when you do this. The target must be a loose object or a large or smaller creature. Or it just has to be a willing creature if you want to go that route. You can move whatever this thing is 30 feet. Or if it happens to be a tiny object, you can actually move it to your hand. Once you use any of these actions, you can't do so again until your next short or long rest, unless you spend one of your psionic energy dice. Then at 4th level of fighter, you get an ability score improvement. So we're going to go ahead and round out our strength and intelligence modifiers. At 5th level of fighter, you get extra attacks. So now you can attack twice per action. And also at 5th level of fighter, you get tactical shift. So if you wind up spending a bonus action to use your second wind, you also get to move half of your movement speed as part of that bonus action and not provoke any opportunity attack. Then at 6th level of fighter, you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to go ahead and boost up our strength again. At 7th level of fighter, you get another feature from being a Psi warrior called Telekinetic Adept, which does grant you 2 abilities. The first is Psi powered leap. So as a bonus action, you gain a flying speed equal to your movement speed, but just until the end of this turn. You can only do that once per short or long rest, or you can spend a use of your psionic energy die to do it again. The other ability you can use as part of this feature is telekinetic thrust. So if you deal damage to a target with your psionic strike, you can force the target to make a strength saving throw. And the DC is 8 plus your intelligence modifier plus your proficiency bonus. On a failed save, that target is either knocked prone or you can move it in any direction 10 feet horizontally. Then at 8th level of fighter, you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to go ahead and boost up our strength by 2 more points. At 9th level of fighter, you get tactical mastery. So now any weapon you're using, which is mostly just going to be your longsword, you can now replace the weapon mastery feature with a different option, instead allowing you to use push, sap, or slow. At 9th level of fighter, you get indomitable, which adds a pretty big boost in the 2024 version. Instead of just allowing you to re-roll it like the old version, now you get to add a bonus to it equal to your fighter level, which is a pretty massive boost. And re-rolling it with a +9 on top of everything else is just pretty massive. You only get 1 use of this per long rest, but you can use it twice at 13th level and 3 times at 17th level. At 10th level of fighter, you get another weapon mastery, and we probably could grab everything we needed right from the first weapon mastery, but if you need something else, you can always get a short sword, which would just be a shorter lightsaber. At 10th level of fighter, you get the feature Guarded Mind, giving you resistance to psychic damage. But on top of that, if you are charmed or frightened, you can wind up spending a psionic energy die to remove that effect altogether. And you can do that just at the start of your turn. You don't even have to spend an action to do so. At 11th level of fighter, you get another extra attack. So now you have 2 attacks on top of your normal attack, meaning that you have 3 attacks per action. At 12th level of fighter, you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to go ahead and boost up our intelligence by 2 points. Then at 13th level of fighter, you get studied attacks. So you're learning while you're fighting. And if you attack a creature and miss, your next attack can have advantage, as long as that attack happens before the end of your next turn. Then at 14th level of fighter, you get another ability score improvement. And I feel like a lot of the things you're fighting up against are force users, which aren't always going to be other Psi warriors. They might also be magic users. So to make sure you can annihilate as many Jedi as possible, even the younglings, we're going to take the feat Mage Slayer. This allows us to boost up our strength or dexterity by 1 point, which we can only really boost our dexterity here because our strength is already maxed out. But this gives 2 great features. First is Concentration Breaker. So if you attack a creature that's concentrating on a spell, they then have disadvantage on that concentration check. The second is Guarded Mind. So now you can't have any Jedi mind tricks against you, at least not as often. Because if you fail a Wisdom, Charisma, or Intelligence saving throw, you can then just decide, nah, I think I'm just going to succeed succeed at it instead. But you can only use that feature once per short or long rest. At 15th level of fighter, you get some more psionic powers with Bulwark Force, so you can shield yourself and others with telekinetic force. As a bonus action, you can choose creatures including yourself within 30 feet of you, up to a number of creatures equal to your intelligence modifier. Each of those creatures has half cover for 1 minute, and you can only use this overall feature once per long rest unless you spend a use of your psionic energy die. At 16th level of fighter, you get another ability score improvement, so we're going to take another feat, and we're going to take another fighting style because I just want to boost up our armor class with whatever crazy outfit that Darth Vader actually wears. And we can take the fighting style defense, boosting our armor class by +1. At 16th level of fighter, you get another weapon mastery, but we don't really care about any other weapons at this point. At 18th level of fighter, you get telekinetic master. So now you always have the telekinesis spell prepared. You can cast it without using a spell slot or any sort of material components. Your spellcasting ability for it is intelligence, and on each of your turns while you're concentrating on it, including the turn that you cast it, you can make one additional weapon attack as a bonus action. You can use this once per long rest as well, unless you spend a use of your psionic energy die. Then at 19th level of fighter, you get an epic boon, and this is basically a super powered feat. Now, I feel like you're very aware of your surroundings, you're pretty good with the force, and you want to make sure you can see through any BS that a Jedi is throwing at you. So we're going to take the boon of true sight. I was going to get some blind sight earlier, but true sight is just all around better. This allows you to increase one ability score modifier, so we're going to go ahead and boost up our dexterity again, so at least then it rounds out that ability score, making it slightly more usable. But then it also gives us true sight in a range of 60 feet, so no more illusions to deal with, no more darkness, you can just see through everything. Then at 20th level of fighter, you get another extra attack, meaning you can attack 4 times per action, so you're pretty darn powerful. I know it's a very straightforward build, I didn't do any crazy multi-classes. Darth Vader is a fairly straightforward ability kind of character. But let me know what you think about this build, if there's anything you do differently, if you would go with more of like a blade singing wizard or a Eldritch Knight fighter. I'd love to know your builds. I kind of felt like I had to do this build after the recent passing of James Earl Jones because he was generally pretty awesome. If you want access to the character sheet for this build or any of my other builds, feel free to check out my Patreon, linked in the description down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button. And I'll be here hoping to roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session, especially if you want to embrace the dark side and become Darth Vader in Dungeons and Dragons.